Ms. Laos, she gave you an introduction to this thing called phonemic awareness, and you gave a definition that is about hearing sounds, but it's a little bit more than hearing sounds. Phonemic awareness is the ability to hear sounds in the language, but also to manipulate those sounds. And why I added that is because a lot of our children know letter sounds. True?
Yes.
They know the sounds, but a lot of them don't know what to do with those sounds. I'm going to just give you a little bit of research behind this thing called phonemic awareness. Now, what does research say? Now, Stanovich, first in 1986 and again in 1993 and 1994, says that phonemic awareness is the most potent predictor of success in learning to read. He says it is more highly related to reading than tests of general intelligence or IQ tests, as we know them, reading readiness and comprehension. Marlene Adams in 1990, she concurs with this, and she goes on to say that phonemic awareness it is the most important core and causal factor separating normal and disabled readers. And another researcher, I don't remember the name offhand, but he says from his findings that a lot of children are misdiagnosed as being learning disabled or being dyslexic. And when a number of tests are carried out, it is proven that all they're lacking is this thing called phonemic awareness. No phonemic awareness skills. Now, Marlene Adams also adds that the lack of phonemic awareness has been identified as the most powerful determinant of the likelihood of failure. Now, our children are failing at reading. That's the reality, true. Our children are not reading. And even those who are identified as good readers still find themselves with some problems when it comes to this thing, playing with sounds. Now, very often in forums like this, when I ask, do you teach phonemic awareness? Teachers say yes. And when I ask them what they do, they start by telling me about letters and so on. No, I'm not pointing fingers, blaming anybody, but often we put the horse before the cart. And we start to teach children letters first off, then we match the sounds of the letters. Now, what's the danger in that? Now, you would have seen this morning from the little poem and from the other things that we did, that there's a lot of danger in that. Because after children learn letters first and associate a sound with that letter, it is very, very difficult to get them to think otherwise. And so this morning with pencil, people literally started to spell the word pencil to see what this sound that they have in common. Because if you know the word pencil is written P-E-N-C-I-L, especially as a young child now learning to read, it's going to be very difficult for that child to associate that with the sound in saw, when they know that saw is S-A-W, because they start to think letters. So all the research has proven that phonemic awareness is the foundation on which we build phonics and not the other way around. So instead of teaching the letters first and then the sounds, and I know that most of us do that, we introduce the letter of the week, and when we introduce the letter, we throw in the sound. True? Am I wrong? Or am I right? We do that. That's what we do. And research has shown that this is what is causing a lot of problems for people who are struggling readers especially. And so even if you have an adult who's literate, who's learning to read, phonemic awareness is where it needs to begin. There are 5 major components of reading identified by the National Research Panel that was set up when President Bush in the United States decided that reading was going to become their focus of emphasis in the United States, and everybody around the world has always caught the passion that the US had started with. And so there was research being done all over the world on reading, and they discovered that any good reading program must consist of 5 major components: phonemic awareness, phonics, vocabulary, comprehension, and fluency. Those 5. If you want to teach children to read effectively, your reading program must consist of all these components. But when you're talking about very young children, you start at the concept of phonemic awareness, teaching those skills. So at this level, we want to teach children those phonemic awareness skills that will help them to be able to work with the sounds of the language. As Ms. Blackman said earlier, you don't need to see any letters or to know any letters to do this. If I ask you, what's the first sound you hear in the word cat? Do you need to know what cat looks like? Or what a C looks like? So as soon as a child can hear and speak, you can start doing phonemic awareness. They don't have to be in nursery class. Alright, so it's the foundation on which we're going to build all the other things. What do we want to start with? Sounds. English language is very, very complex. We have 26 letters, and those 26 letters are represented by 44 sounds. 44. There are 5 vowels, and those 5 vowels account for 21 of those 44 sounds. As you noticed this morning, even the O can say A. Like in women. You want children to be able to hear sounds at different levels. And you did your environmental listening this morning. And why do we do that? Is it because we want to stay quiet for a few minutes? No. Because we want them to be able to pick up those slight differences in the sounds in words. We teach them first, we have to train them to listen, because listening is not something that happens automatically. You have to train your children to listen. And so training them to listen to the environmental sounds and to the person who's making the noise in the class, all of that leads them to helping them to listen carefully for those slight differences in words. Because it's those phonemes are the smallest unit in sound that has meaning that makes the difference from one word to the other. For example, if I have the word bat, there are 3 sounds in bat. At. But if I take out that a and put a, I'm just changing that one sound and get a totally new word with totally new meaning. And so you want them to recognize that it's those small changes in sound that causes us to build a store of words, because we can't possibly teach them every word they need to know by looking at it and remembering the sequence of letters. Now, some people argue that if you do a lot of this, that sooner or later when the children come to spell, I think somebody probably asked the question earlier this morning, if it's not confusing for the children. Well, you start to teach them the sounds and how those sounds work and how they operate together. As they grow older, when you introduce your letters and they come to realize that these sounds have different spelling choices, then through your spelling and dictation and so on, you teach them now which choice you use in which environment. For example, the sound K can be C or K or CK. But you never will find CK at the beginning of a word. True? So CK operates only in the environment of the middle, well, at the end of a syllable, really. It never comes at the beginning. So a child will know right off, if I'm hearing that K sound, I will never represent it with CK at the beginning of a word. And then there are other things that dictate when you use C and when you use K at the beginning of a word. But we won't go into that now. Those who would have had exposure to linguistics and those who might be thinking about doing that, you'll get a lot of that in those classes. But that was just so you understand why we're talking that way. We help children to focus on how to work with sounds. You understand? Mr. Bird is going to throw the mic to you. Each person should be able to get a chance. And maybe we're going to do that because there are only 26 bean bags and there are more than 26 of you, but some bean bags have more than one picture. So if you get a bean bag with more than one picture, you will do one sound, and your partner, the person standing next to you, will do the next one. Fair? Okay. All right. So when you get the picture, you're going to say the name of the picture on the bean bag, and then you will say the beginning sound. We are all going to listen for that sound, and if it's correct, we're going to do a thumbs up. If it's not, thumbs down, we'll correct it.
You know.
Alright. Remember, they should start saying, huh. What is they called? And you have to respond. You have to let your children know when you're doing the right thing.
Next.